Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel Chelsea January transfer news. We are back again. It is Sunday. It's going to be a bit more of a relaxed video today because obviously Chelsea 4, Preston 0 in the FA Cup in the 5:30 PM kickoff in the UK. If you haven't yet seen the 6 Things We Learned video, check it out. It was the last long form video uploaded to GBFC, and as a result of that, we're going to talk about some of those things that we saw in the game that kind of lead us to discuss a little bit more about our January transfer business. I want to focus a little bit today, well, a lot today, talking about the striker conundrum. Is it desperation right now for Chelsea to go out there and buy a number 9 right now for the rest of the season? Or is the pre-contractual agreement that apparently Victor Osimhen is ready and willing to agree to sign if Chelsea do in fact go in for him? Is this something that we can wait to fully address and have answers to come the end of this season going into next season? Of course, as a result of talking about last night's game against Preston, we've got to discuss 2 things. The first thing is Christopher Nkunku was not even in the matchday squad. Mauricio Pochettino said in his press conference before this game against Preston that Nkunku wouldn't be able to start because of something that happened in training. Turns out from the post-match interview that Pochettino gave, it's an injury to his hip. Now, I don't know what's going on. It sounds to me as though there is like an obstacle course at Cobham, which is when you arrive at Cobham, you've basically got to go through a total wipeout scene of events or massive chain of events basically to hopefully when you get back in your car at the end of a training session or at the end of any given day, hopefully you can get back in it and you are unscathed. Whereas in Christopher Nkunku's case, he's been out for the whole season and now he has a hip injury, which is a bit of a nightmare to be quite honest, because I thought Christopher Nkunku being on the field against Preston would have absolutely changed the way that first half looked. And then when you see the way that Preston capitulated in that second half, I think we could have scored 6 or 7 if Nkunku was on the pitch, because in the first half, Armando Broja was basically nowhere to be seen. Now, I've given him the credit in the 6 Things We Learned. It's a really good header. It's a great goal. And to Broja's defence as well, in that first half, nobody was finding him. We weren't making those passes. We weren't incisive. There was no natural width within the Chelsea team because you've got Malo Gusto, who the Preston players, credit to them and their manager, they knew that he's going to want to cut inside on that right foot. So whenever there was an opportunity for Mudryk and Gusto to link up on that left-hand side, Preston won the ball back every single time. They were using 2 or 3 players to win that ball, and then they were able to start their own attacks. On the right-hand side, Alfie Gilchrist, who I thought had a solid Chelsea first full debut, but again, he's not a right-back. So when he had the chances to go forward, it was only really in the second 15 minutes of that second half where Pochettino's clearly spoken to the players at half-time and been like, look, we're not creating anything. It's 0-0. We can't afford a replay here, so we're going to have to commit men forward. Armando Broja scores that goal, but up until that Gusto cross that Broja flicks into the back of the net, there is absolutely no service available without that natural width and dynamism from this Chelsea team, which was an alarming issue. As soon as we started to rectify that, we were pinning Preston into their own penalty area. In that second half, we get that first goal. Thiago Silva basically just squashes any kind of nerves because at 2-0, Preston hadn't really done anything going forward of note. Petrovic made some good, easy, expected saves. But from that point, Chelsea had the confidence. Chelsea were able to attack a bit more freely. Preston had to kind of go for it. It's an FA Cup tie. You've got nothing to lose at Stamford Bridge. Go for it and open up the spaces for Chelsea to exploit. Now that there's another injury for Christopher Nkunku, you start to look at it, and we're going to find out in the next couple of days the extent to which this injury could keep Nkunku on the sidelines again. But Armando Broja, we've got to be realistic here. If we're looking forward, Nicholas Jackson, he's not going to be able to feature for at least a month or so. Senegal will probably go quite far in the AFCON. So Armando Broja is currently the man that we're going to be hanging all of our goal-scoring hope on. Cole Palmer keeps on delivering 15 goals and assists in 16 starts for Chelsea. is incredible. But again, he is more useful, deployed a lot deeper up the pitch. You could say that we could see Palmer used as a false nine, but Armando Broja is probably going to be that guy right now. So for Chelsea moving forward, Pochettino has to acknowledge here, from what we've seen against Preston, going into that Middlesbrough game, the Fulham game next week, and then the sandwich. Fulham are in the Middlesbrough sandwich right now, but Chelsea have got to be looking to win all three of these matches. Armando Broja is probably going to be leading the line. He needs service, so therefore we need natural width and players that are confident on that right-hand side, be that the right back, and then the left-hand side as a left back. When you looked at that lineup today from Poch, Gilchrist, who's not a right back, I thought he would be centre back, maybe Disasi right back, or maybe Gusto right back, Colwell left back. The whole defence, I'm like, Poch, mate, what have you done? And lo and behold, it takes a massive halftime team talk to change that. But let's talk a little bit now about Victor Osimhen. There's been stories that have come out this week that we've not really addressed too much here on the channel. We saw that John Obi Mikel had Victor Osimhen on his podcast about a month ago. And even within that podcast, you see John Obi Mikel acting as an agent, basically telling Osimhen, look, if you want to come to Chelsea, I will make sure it happens for you. Since then, there hasn't really been any concrete conversation between Chelsea and Napoli. And amongst all of this, Victor Osimhen has signed a new deal at Napoli, which to me doesn't mean that he's going to be staying. It's just simply a sign of loyalty that he doesn't want Napoli to lose out, basically. 112 million quid is the reported release clause that a club would have to pay for Osimhen, and it would only be on one of these pre-contractual agreements that would see Osimhen join Chelsea at the end of this current season, beginning of next one. Enter the conversation, Didier Drogba. Chelsea legend has also been speaking to Victor Osimhen to try and persuade him to move to Chelsea. Victor Osimhen apparently is interested in having a conversation with Chelsea about this pre-contractual agreement to see him join the Blues in the summer. Which leads us to the question here. Is there anything this season that would make signing a striker right now such a priority? Like, what is the ceiling of this season? We're in a semi-final of the Carabao Cup already. We're into the fourth round of the FA Cup. We're 10th in the Premier League. And realistically, even if we do bring in a number 9 right now, Champions League football is so far away because there are still so many other little pockets of the pitch where things need to click. Signing a striker is the priority. But the conversation that I want to have with you guys today, and I want to know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Do we go and try and bring in a Artem Dovbyk, who we spoke about earlier this week? Rumours are reported that it could be about 40 million. Is that just another one of those part-time, decent informed striker signings that could probably not solve the long-term issue? But if we can't get Victor Osimhen now, do we then go for Ivan Toney? I don't think that is the answer. I don't think 100 million is worth it for a 28-year-old striker. So I'm leaning towards now maybe just giving Broja a go, hoping that Nkunku can come back and actually be a number 9 at times if we need him to, if this hip injury isn't serious. Lock Victor Osimhen in. 112 million is the release clause. Yes, it's a hell of a lot of money. I think he's only 24. He maybe just turned 25. This guy is going to be an elite top striker at least for another 5-6 years. This is money well spent, in my opinion, for Chelsea. But the question is, do we just go for the jugular and spend big on someone to get them in now? But the Osimhen news is that it will only be a pre-contractual agreement between Osimhen and Chelsea. He won't leave Napoli in January, but he comes in the summer. Does that mean we sign 2 strikers in January? Osimhen for the future and another guy now. I'm so on the fence about this one. I don't think just because Armando Broja scored a great header against Preston, I'm not convinced that Armando Broja is at the level of consistency and quality that Chelsea would need to make a massive push to win us the FA Cup and to maybe get us top 6, which is right now what I'm looking at and thinking, hang on a minute, this season could actually still be really successful. We could still get top 6. We're only 6 points off. We're in the hat in the 4th round of the FA Cup, and we're in the last 4 of the Carabao Cup. So this could still be a massive season for Chelsea. Huge progress, big things to build upon for Maurizio Pochettino. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. The more we hear about it, the more convinced I am that if Chelsea pull their finger out here, start making conversations happen, make that bid for Osimhen, reach that release clause, and next season, going into pre-season, signing that number 9, that elite top striker early, gives Pochettino, if it is to be him, gives him a whole pre-season to work with these players. Yes, we're talking here about Nkunku being injured. Victor Osimhen doesn't have the best injury record either. There are so many if, buts, and maybes right now about Chelsea. But I do think if Nkunku can return from the hip injury, stay fit, I think there's a world where we can last until the summer without signing a striker now. I know it's crazy because I said it's a priority. It's a priority because there aren't many elite ones left, and there's not going to be many more opportunities to lock them in long term. Get it done, Chelsea. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Is Nkunku and Armando Broja with Jackson coming back from AFCON enough to be able to achieve something this season? Or do we need it right now? I think Osimhen for the summer, pre-contractual agreement now, is the one. This is the video where we've been talking about it. Let us know in the comments down below, or let me know in the comments down below what you think. Be sure to check out the vlog channel, the GBFC TikTok, the Telegram shootout. Eunice and I went into more depth about this Preston win, so stay tuned there for that one. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you tomorrow with more content here on GBFC. Come on, you Blues.